Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska show. I'm your host, John Quick, and I've got some exciting news and exciting guests today. We want to first thank everybody for tuning into the Must Read Alaska show. We are very fortunate to have the one of the top ranked podcasts in the entire U.S. in the government section. Currently, right now, we are ranked in the top 103 countries, which is pretty crazy. We're just little old Alaska out here talking about stuff. So we're very excited about that. And we want to thank our show sponsor, which is Charlie Pierce for Governor. We want to thank Charlie Pierce for Governor for being our show sponsor. He helps spread conservative news through all the nooks and crannies of Alaska. But one of the things we're doing new on the show, a couple weeks ago, we had the executive director of the Freedom House in Soldotna, which is an addiction recovery center. And we kind of got to know what Jennifer was doing there and what she was up to. And that was a little bit different for us. It didn't have anything to do with politics. And today we get to talk to Alaska's own Instagram star. And I say that being 100% serious because oftentimes in Alaska, we're very slow to incorporate new technology. You know, like I know people that are like still on MySpace here in Alaska and that just got high-speed internet. And Danika joins us today as Alaska's Instagram star and also travel expert here in Alaska. So thank you so much, Danika, for joining Must Read Alaska.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you on the show. And so for those who maybe have never heard of you, Danika has a business called Girl in Alaska. And I'll talk just a teeny bit about it because I don't want to give away kind of the trade secrets of what she's doing because she's going to talk about it more in depth. But essentially, if you ever have family that come to visit you in Alaska, which I'm sure you do, or folks that are listening to us that don't live in Alaska and want to visit Alaska, and you always think to yourself, well, there's so much stuff to do in Alaska. What am I going to do? I only have a week. Or my aunt and uncle are coming up. We only have 4 days. What the heck are we going to do in those 4 days? Danika is your expert to literally come up with the world's best itinerary. So Danika,
thank you.
Tell us just a little bit about yourself and what your business is and how you got started with this business in the first place. Act as if our listeners are hearing about you for the first time.
Okay. Well, thank you again for having me. My name is Danika Baldwin. I am 34 years old. Well, I turn 34 actually tomorrow.
Nice, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm actually getting ready to go on like a little staycation to Seward this weekend. So
nice.
I'll be heading there after I talk with you. But yeah, so I moved to Alaska when I was 4. So I've been here a really long time, 30 years. I wasn't always into the outdoors and things like that. I didn't kind of really start getting into that until maybe 10 years ago or so. But I'm really into the outdoors. I love hunting, fishing, flying. I got my pilot's license 2 years ago. I just love exploring Alaska and trying new experiences and also sharing my experiences with not only people from out of state, but also locals. You know, I know you were saying that I help people that come to Alaska, but I also want to help people that live in Alaska that haven't, you know, maybe stepped outside of the city that they live in and haven't really explored Alaska at all. So I started an Instagram page. It's probably about 3 years ago now when I kind of really started trying to like pursue this. But so I started sharing just my experiences in Alaska, you know, going to the cabin, flying, and I was really trying to inspire women too to get into the outdoors more and to do things that like typically the boys would do. And so through all my experiences and sharing everything, I started to get a lot of questions from people, and I started to get a lot of followers from out of state. And so I started getting a lot of the same questions like, hey, I see that you live in Alaska. Like, can you tell us a little bit about it? How do we get there? What's there to do? What's the most fun thing to do? What are the best tours to take? And things like that. What are the best cities to see? And so I started to see like a demand for some type of, just some type of travel planning assistance, I guess. And so I didn't really start the travel planning thing until last winter, kind of. Up until then, I was again just sharing my Alaskan experiences, and then Instagram Reels came out. So that came out a little over a year ago now, and I kind of jumped on the bandwagon with that, and I started making videos of my experiences. So it went from sharing photos to now videos, and the videos started to gain a lot of traction and get a lot more views, and I started to get a larger following from the video content that I was creating. And then the personal experience videos and the flying videos and everything started to kind of transition into like funny videos where I was making humorous videos about Alaska and stereotypes about Alaska and jokes that only like locals would know, and winter jokes and everything like that, and the stuff that we like to gripe about in Alaska. I started making humorous videos about those things, and that's kind of really when my page started to really take off. I went from 10,000 followers to 30,000 followers in like 3 months. It was like crazy.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah, it was nuts. It's definitely slowed down since then, but I went through like this spurt and this huge growth. And so with that, I started to get those questions over and over and more. And the little questions started to turn into like long paragraphs like, hey, I'm 35 years old and I'm coming with my wife and my 2 kids. They're 5 and 7, and we love to go hiking and fishing. And it was just like a whole, like a novel of questions. And I started to be like, okay, I started answering these people.
You got to monetize that.
I was like, I need to be charging for my time, because this is getting really time consuming, and I love helping people. And I love to like say, hey, do this, because I would much rather you come here and have a good experience and not feel like you wasted your time and money. And so that's kind of where the travel planning idea came into play. I initially started, I was like, why don't I just do like phone consultations where I can speak with people and answer any questions that they have. And then I was kind of like, well, why don't I just plan out their whole trip? And so I offer both of those services. I offer phone consultations where you can just call me and pick my brain, ask me any Alaska questions that you have. You kindly call me an Alaskan expert. I don't think I'm an expert, but I do know quite a bit about Alaska. And if there's something that I don't know, I can definitely find out the answer from someone else. So I do the phone consultations for that. So if, you just have questions and maybe you want to plan your trip on your own, we can go that route. Or if you want a little more help, I can literally plan out each day for you, day by day, with all my top recommendations and cities and everything. And so that's kind of how it started. That's where I'm at right now. And then I guess in addition to that, I also, before I started doing the travel planning thing, I started highlighting local businesses. So like I would go eat at my favorite restaurant and I would give them like a shout out and I'd take a picture of my food. And that's kind of also where some questions started to come into play. Like, hey, I see that you're posting like a lot of coffee shops. Like, where is that place at? And stuff like that. And so I started to also promote local businesses in Alaska. And I kind of started doing these like paid collaborations with different companies to kind of really just highlight and showcase their business in a way that's like relatable to people. I like to go into businesses and give like a behind the scenes experience. Instagram's a really personal app. It's a very nosy app. Everyone wants to know what you're doing at every time of the day. And so I know that my followers want to see what's going on. And, they don't want to just see like what products you're selling. They want to know like, where'd you come up with that idea? How'd you start this business? Do you have a family? Like, when do you have the time to make that pottery? Blah, 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 blah. And so I like to go into businesses and answer those questions for my followers and kind of give a more behind the scenes experience with these local businesses. So
that's awesome.
That answer all the questions?
That's pretty awesome. All I got to say is, Scott with Alaska Travel Gram better watch out, because there's a new sheriff in town. So which I'm a big fan of Scott and Alaska Travelgram. So I say that, jokingly, but I think it's good to have competition. And I think
Totally.
Scott has owned that space.
Yeah.
He's dominated for, I don't know, 35, 40 years, and he's done a great job. And I think it's fun to see new folks coming up that are doing something similar, but different.
And I think there's plenty of business for all of us to go around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's hundreds of millions of people on Instagram. And so my following is going to be totally different from your following. You know what I mean?
Yep. So one of the things we're doing for folks that are just joining us, I have Danika here, and she owns a business called Girl in Alaska. Am I saying that correctly? I feel like okay, awesome. Girl in Alaska. Yes. And she not only is an Instagram star here in Alaska, but she also gives basically guided advice for folks that want to experience true Alaska, whether they're living in Alaska or having family and friends come visit Alaska. She will literally book you the world's best itinerary while you're here. So one of the things that we're doing on this show, and we're going to be I'm going to be highlighting who won on Monday morning, is we're going to be giving away a free hour consultation for either you, for whoever wins. They could use it on themselves or family and friends that are going to come visit. And she will literally do exactly like she does with her other clients, and she will help you map out the world's best Alaskan itinerary. So to enter that competition, is very simple. You can like, comment, or share this Facebook post, and for each time, you could like, comment, and share. That'll be three entries, and I'll basically put everybody's name in a hat and draw it on Monday morning on our show on Must Read Alaska for our Monday show. So you have a couple 3 or 4 days to find us on Facebook and like, comment, or share, and you'll enter a chance to win this, and it'll be pretty awesome. So the next question is this. I'm sure that you've been all over Alaska. You literally, as folks go check out your Instagram, which, by the way, what is your Instagram handle? So people literally right now can go check it out.
So if you just search Girl in Alaska, it should pop up, but it's girl in Alaska.
Okay. So as people go look at that, you'll see you're literally on planes, hunting, fishing, doing all these awesome things that only people dream about to be able to do maybe once a year, maybe once in a lifetime. And it looks like you're doing it a lot, which is awesome. What's one of your favorite places that you've been in Alaska? I'm sure you've experienced a lot of cool places, but what's one of your personal favorite places?
As far as places would go, and it's not necessarily like a city, but I think just going and experiencing landing on like Kinnick Glacier and getting to walk around and see the giant blue, ice and glaciers and things like that. That's probably like my most favorite, coolest thing that I've ever done here. City-wise, I'm so partial to the peninsula. I just think there's so much to do in, such a big area, but yet you can get to everything. And so I don't know. I really like towns like Seward and Homer. Those are always going to have my heart. My goal though this year is to explore more of Alaska. I have been all over Alaska, primarily though in South Central Alaska. That's kind of my expertise, I would say. But I am actually going to Juneau in 2 weeks for my birthday. I'm going to be going to Cordova, Ketchikan, Valdez, Kodiak Island, and some other places this year to kind of really show everyone like these are the other cool places in Alaska. And I also want to explore them and experience them for myself as well. But I would say Homer and Seward, those are probably my favorite places.
Nice. Homer is one of my favorite places. My favorite place to eat in all of Alaska is actually Finn's Pizza in Homer. It's probably the best pizza ever. Oh my gosh. So let's say somebody is following you on Instagram and is like, oh my gosh, I need to book my in-laws are coming up and I don't have time, or I have no idea, or, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. I have 3 days. They call you. What does that experience look like? Walk us through a little bit about, what that experience looks like from a user standpoint.
Okay. Yeah. So I primarily advertise on Instagram. So I'll create videos to kind of, tell people like, hey, I actually plan vacations to Alaska. And so that's probably where you'll initially find me, is on a reel or something like that on Instagram. And then I kind of divert people to my website. So it's girlinalaska.com. Right when you get onto the homepage, it's got all of the different options that you can do to book with me. It's super simple. There's multiple book now buttons. And then once you do that, my calendar will pop up, and then you can actually select a time and schedule out a phone call with a time and date that works best for your schedule.
Nice. You're all high tech. Look at that.
Trying to automate things, baby. I hired a business coach recently, and she's like, you got to automate things. And so I'm working on an intake form. So previously, I would get on the phone with you and ask you, how old are you? Who are you traveling with? What are the things you guys like to do? But again, I'm trying to kind of automate things. And so I'm creating an intake form that will have all of those questions. What are your wish list items? What are cities that you're interested in seeing and things like that? So then we have what I call our initial phone call consultation. So I'll get on the phone call with you. We just do a quick phone call. It's not Zoom or anything. And I just kind of spend the first 10 minutes a little bit getting to know you, and I find a lot of times that I end up giving a little bit of like a geography lesson at the beginning of the call, because a lot of my clients want to go,
yeah, can we just go up to Barrow real quick?
Everywhere. And they're like, and we have 7 days. I'm like,
let's just go to Bethel real quick.
I'm like, okay, we got to narrow this down. So I'll spend a little bit of time kind of just educating people on distance wise and how far things are apart from each other, and explain our road system and how there's only one road and you really can't get lost. And then I like to have my clients be at a computer. And so we'll pull up a map of Alaska together. And I'll kind of go city by city and kind of explain the different cities that I think that they would enjoy going to based off of the information that they've given me. And so I really just go city by city and just kind of give like a quick overview of what there is to do in each city as far as like tours go, things to do, hikes, things like that. And so then I kind of get an idea from them of like what they'd like to do in each city. And then after that, I will recommend lodging. So I'll tell you, okay, so we've decided that you're going to go to Girdwood, Seward, and Homer. So here's my recommendations on where you should stay in each one of these cities. And I'll give people, a couple of options. I'm really good at working with people's budgets. I'm really good at building flexibility into the schedule. So don't think that it's like 8:05, 8:10, 8:15, we have to be here. I know myself that when I'm driving on the road and I see beautiful things, I like to stop and take pictures. And so I try to build a lot of flexibility into people's itineraries and schedules as well. So I'll give all my suggestions, and then I have you book everything on your own. So that way I never have your credit card information or anything like that. And then all the confirmations and everything can go directly to you. And then once you let me know that you've booked everything, then I put everything into a custom itinerary that I create. It's usually anywhere from 5 to 10 pages long. It's a PDF that you can either print and take with you, or you can just view it on your phone. And then I also include you can text me at any time. If you're here and you're stuck and you have any questions, let me know.
So all that is just for $100.
That's
okay.
That's
I was
the
custom itinerary. That's a lot of work. That is a lot of work.
That's going to be the custom itinerary. That's okay. $550 for 7 days. And then the phone call is just a phone call where, we just talk and you ask me questions basically.
That's awesome. So I think, one of the questions I've got, a couple of people text me, is they said, is this a sponsored post like this thing? No, this is like Danika has not paid us to do this.
Not getting paid, guys.
I just think this is an awesome business out there that could really help a lot of the folks looking to make trips to Alaska. A lot of our listeners have family members making trips to Alaska. And this is a really cool, unique service that I think can be a huge benefit to folks. So that's kind of why we're doing this. And
thank you.
One of the best kept secrets, I think, on the Kenai Peninsula that I really love, that my family will probably punch me for saying this, but Bear Creek Lodge in Hope is one of the coolest places. We go there a lot, and it's run and owned by this awesome family who literally, like, their kids are running around and they're they like stay at the property like a couple blocks down and interact with the guests, and it's in little, you know, little teeny Hope. And anyways, for folks that are looking to make a trip to the peninsula and want to experience something new, Bear Creek Lodge in Hope is pretty awesome.
A really good spot. And the Dirty Skillet.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah.
So
I actually used to live in Hope for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Hope's pretty cool. It's like it's a very unique, eclectic group of folks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We went back when my dad was here a couple months ago, and it's like there's still people living there that were there when we were there 30 years ago. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
But
so who are some folks that you look up to in the business world? It's you are kind of about to own the space that you're in. I think give it another year or so and you'll be just dominating, and not that you're not now, but I think it'll be exciting to see somebody in Alaska be very successful. And so, but who are some of the folks that you look up to in the kind of business world that you?
When I get on Instagram, I'm not really scrolling to consume content. I'm really scrolling to get ideas for content. And so my feed probably looks really different from a lot of people's. My feed is like Instagram tips and, you know, how to grow on Instagram and blah, 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 blah. And so I follow a lot of people that kind of teach you how to create an online business. And so those are kind of the people that I follow. Brock Johnson, Tina Lee, just some people on Instagram, just some content creators. Nice. And then, just some other bigger content creator accounts that I get ideas from and things like that on Instagram. So not necessarily anyone in like the business world or anything, but
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I did hire a business coach recently, someone that I really look up to and admire. She is not, I wouldn't say doing something similar to what I'm doing, but we're both kind of making money online on Instagram. And we've created businesses from Instagram. And so I've learned a lot from her and just picking her brain and kind of learning from the things that she's done.
That's awesome. So what is, you know, as a small business owner, are you hopeful for Alaska's economy? I'm a small business owner too. I own a hardware store here with some family members in Nikiski. And, you know, we went from, I don't know, 3 years ago, a 2x4 was $6 and now it's like 14.
Right.
And so what is the outlook for somebody like you in your business? Is it, are you hopeful? Are you stressed out that the economy sucks? You know, just kind of a practical common sense look. How does it look like from a small business owner's perspective?
I think for me, you know, with my business, I'm seeing a lot of interest in people wanting to come to Alaska. And so for me, I'm hopeful. You know, I'm seeing that a lot of the events that have been canceled the last 2 years, they're starting to happen again. A lot of businesses that maybe had to shut down or maybe, you know, lost good help and things like that due to COVID, they're starting to kind of turn around and open back up. And so I'm hopeful for our economy. I think we're going to have a good summer as far as the tourism industry goes.
That's awesome. I try to be optimistic myself. And so I'm thankful that, you know, people are coming back to Alaska for trips, and which means, you know, that's a lot of our sales tax for a lot of cities and boroughs around Alaska. And that's how they pay for their services, whether it's schools or anything like that. That those tourist sales tax stuff really helps out. And so all of it, you know, all of it means something. And it was tough to do when everything was shut down. So I'm excited everything's opened back up again.
The cruise ships are coming back, like everything, you know, so should be a good summer.
So tell us, is there anything else you'd like to throw in there? And before you do that, when you're done with that, tell us exactly how to find you on Instagram, TikTok, your website, and anything like that before we take off and kind of say goodbye for the day. So
I think, I did want to mention, so I'm working with the Soldotna Chamber of Commerce. fun summer project. If you're planning to stay in Soldotna at all, if you're gonna, rent a cabin, stay at a lodge, even if you're gonna go camping, if you bring in your receipt to the Soldotna Visitor Center, they'll actually give you a free gift. It's a visitor's guide and then a really cool like Soldotna salmon, like a neck buff that you can wear when you're fishing or camping.
Nice.
So check out their page. It's Visit Soldotna on Instagram or visitsoldotna.com. So, and then to find me, so I'm pretty much on all social channels. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a very small YouTube page. I'm going to try and beef that up here this year. And then you can also find me on TikTok. Everything, if you just search Girl in Alaska, it should pop up. And then if you want, you can check out my website. It's girlinalaska.com.
Nice. So for folks that are tuning in, we are doing a giveaway. So I want to remind folks one more time that I'm going to be giving away, Must Read Alaska is going to be giving away a phone consultation with Danika, which basically she'll kind of initially stage and help you work out what could be, your best trip ever to Alaska, whether it's you currently living in Alaska and you're like, I've only ever been to Anchorage. I've lived here for 20 years. And you want to go experience Denali or Southeast Alaska or Kenai Peninsula, or you're having family coming up and you don't have time to plan the trip. You want them to have an awesome trip. You just don't have any time because you're busy up until the day they fly here. Danika will help you work out that schedule to be awesome. And so we're going to be giving away that hour phone consultation. To enter to win, all you have to do is like, comment, or share this Facebook post. If you like, comment, and share, that's 3 entries. I'm going to be putting everybody's kind of name in a hat and drawing the winner on our Monday morning Must Read Alaska show. So please make sure to do that. One of the things that I'm hopeful for is businesses like this in Alaska, because I think that oftentimes people, they graduate college or whatever, and they leave Alaska, or they graduate high school and they leave Alaska. And that's always a sad thing, because I think that Alaska has a lot to offer. And I think it's exciting to see folks like you stay in Alaska and try to make a go of it. And so thanks so much for joining us on the show. We want to thank our sponsor, Charlie Pierce for Governor, for sponsoring the show and helping spread this awesome travel news all throughout Alaska today. So thank you, Charlie Pierce for Governor. And we want to thank our listeners, because it's because of our listeners that we're able to just beat a ridiculous amount of podcasts out there that have $1 million budgets and, staff a dozen folks out there. And it's just Suzanne and I, and I'm literally in my living room with a blurred out background because my living room is probably dirty. And so we want to thank our listeners. And if you want to donate to the cause, Must Read Alaska, you can go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side there's a donate button. James Baisden will be on tomorrow morning, Friday morning. And I may have another special guest possibly today. We'll wait and see if that's going to happen. But definitely tune in Friday morning to James Baisden on the Must Read Alaska show. And then Suzanne and I will be back on Monday morning. So until then, from somewhere in Alaska, I'm signing off. Your host, John Quick. And thanks so much.